Today, we're tackling something huge, trying to understand what's really going on inside social media. It shapes so much of our world, but for the researchers trying to study it, well, it's becoming a total black box. So let's start with a big question. We've all heard of echo chambers and filter bubbles, but how do they actually form? What are the real mechanics behind them? Is it just about who we decide to follow? Or is there something else, something hidden deep in the code, that's gently pushing us into these groups? You see, for the social scientists who are dedicating their careers to answering exactly that, the job is getting tougher and tougher. The very platforms they need to get a handle on are closing up shop, becoming more and more opaque. And this is what they call the social media black box. It's this idea that we can see what goes in, our posts, our likes, our shares, and we can see what comes out, our feeds, the trending topics. But that crucial bit in the middle, the algorithms connecting the dots, that's completely hidden from view. So why is this happening? Well, first off, getting access to data is just way harder than it used to be. And even when researchers do get their hands on some, it's usually just a tiny snapshot in time. Plus, those powerful algorithms deciding what you see are trade secrets. You can't just call up a tech company and say, hey, could you turn off your main recommender for a bit so I can run an experiment? No way. This whole situation, it calls for a completely new way of thinking. So, if you can't run your experiments on the real thing, what do? Well, you build a replica. And this is where a really powerful concept from engineering comes into play, the digital twin. A digital twin is pretty much what it sounds like. It's a super detailed, functioning, virtual copy of a real-world system. Think about a flight simulator. Pilots can test all sorts of wild, dangerous, what-if scenarios without ever leaving the ground. It's perfectly safe. So here's the big idea. What if you could build a flight simulator for a social network? And that's where the difference is just night and day. On a real network, your data is spotty, the algorithms are a total mystery, and running experiments can be a minefield. But inside a social digital twin, you get all the data. The algorithms, you have complete control. You can run any experiment you can dream up, safely and ethically, to really figure out cause and effect. Which brings us to the star of the show today, meet YSocial. It's a first-of-its-kind social media digital twin, built from the ground up to give researchers the keys to finally unlock that black box. So how does this thing actually work? Well, under the hood, you've got a server handling all the basic social media actions, posting, following, you name it. Then you have the LLM server, which is really the brains of the operation, using powerful language models to create intelligent AI agents. The whole show is run by a simulation client. But here's the absolute best part for the user. It's all wrapped up in a zero-code interface. That means any researcher can use this, not just expert programmers. Now, the real magic here comes from just how deep you can go with these AI agents. These are not your simple bots. A researcher can build these incredibly detailed personas. You can define everything from their political beliefs and personality traits right down to their activity level or even their potential for toxicity. You can even make it so their interests change over time based on who they talk to. It's incredibly dynamic. And bringing one of these agents to life, it's as simple as writing a prompt, just like this one. You just describe the persona you're looking for, and the large language model takes it from there, generating posts and comments that are perfectly in character. It's like having a cast of thousands of digital actors ready for your next big social experiment. Okay, and this is where YSocial's power just becomes undeniable. Remember that invisible algorithmic influence we talked about? Well, in here, it's not invisible at all. It's completely controllable. The researcher gets to be the platform designer. You want a simple, old-school chronological feed? Done. Want to switch to an algorithm that only pushes the most popular content? You just flip a switch and watch what happens. You can directly measure how every little change impacts the entire social world. All right, this all sounds amazing in theory, but what does it actually look like when you put it to the test? Well, the YSocial team did just that. They ran a fascinating case study, a simulated political debate. So here was the setup. They created a simulation with 1,000 AI agents. They split them right down the middle. Half were given Republican personas, the other half Democrat. They also dropped in 2 news source agents, one based on CNN, one on Fox News. And then they just let the whole thing run for 60 simulated days to see what would happen. So what was the first big takeaway? It was all about the agent's information diet. The Democrat agents pretty much only interacted with content from the CNN page.
Meanwhile, the Republican agents stuck almost exclusively to the Fox News page. Right away, you have this incredibly unbalanced flow of information, a perfect digital echo chamber, created from scratch.
But here's where it gets really fascinating. Even when they were talking about the same exact topics, the two groups used their language to signal who they were. The Democrat agents would use hashtags like hashtag renewable energy, while the Republican agents used ones like hashtag America First. It's wild. They were talking right past each other, using these little linguistic flags to show which team they were on. Now, here comes the twist. You might think that these two groups would just stay in their own separate corners, right? But that's not what happened. Over the 60 days, they actually started following each other, eventually merging into one big connected network. But, and this is so important, even inside that single network, the super dense, politically divided clusters were still there. And they could actually put a number on it. The network's final political assortativity score was 0.52. Now, in simple terms, that's a really strong score. It means that agents had a major preference for connecting with other agents who share their political views. The echo chamber didn't break. It just learned to exist inside a bigger, more connected world. And what this whole case study really proves is that a tool like YSocial isn't just for replicating what we already know. It's for allowing researchers to ask entirely new kinds of questions and explore brand new frontiers. I mean, the potential here is just massive. Imagine being able to model precisely how birds of a feather flock together online. Or what if you could test different ways to fight misinformation to see what actually works? You could generate perfect synthetic data to train smarter AI, or even study complex things like online bullying in a setting that's completely safe and ethical. And for any researchers watching this who are getting excited, this isn't some far-off concept. YSocial is a real tool. You can download it and start using it right now on Windows, macOS, and Linux. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. If you had the power to build your own social media world from the ground up, to test literally any idea you could think of, what's the first thing you'd want to discover? To find out more, you can check out the project's website at ynot.social. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.